And we know the situation in Ukraine escalated fast and furiously. Many of us still trying to understand what is going on between Russia and Ukraine and what this could all mean for all of us in the future. Joining us now is Dr. Philip W. Travis. He is a professor of history at State College of Florida, Manatee, Sarasota, with specializations in the Cold War and international relations. He is also the author of several books and articles on the Cold War. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So I have to ask you this first. Are you surprised this is happening?
No, and I think I speak for the general international community that it's not really a surprise, though it is shocking and deeply concerning. This is the most significant military operation on Europe since World War II. But intelligence in the West, United States, NATO, and so forth have been kind of believing this was going to happen for some time. They tried to stop it with sanctions, but
break it all down for us. What is happening? What is happening here between Russia and Ukraine? For people who are trying to catch up and we're just seeing war pictures. What is going on here?
Yeah, so basically, Russia views Ukraine as a natural part of its sphere of influence. Ukraine was a part of the Soviet Union throughout the Cold War. It's been part of the greater Russian Empire for a long period of time. It became independent after the end of the Cold War in the 1990s, and this was recognized by Russia. But the real key event is the Ukrainian Revolution of 2014, and this is a moment when Ukraine sort of shifted towards a Western European frame, economic relations, as well as even talking about maybe joining NATO. And Putin does not really regard Ukraine as a legitimate country and effectively demands that Ukraine must be part of the Russian sphere of orbit. So after 2014, Putin annexed Crimea. He began backing separatists in the Donbas region, in the east of Ukraine, and of course now overtly trying to, really turn Ukraine into effectively a Russian satellite state, not in the way that we see in the case of Belarus, which is where many of the armies are attacking from in the north.
Let's talk about the Cold War. You mentioned that. That was from 1945 to 1991 between the Soviet Union, Russia, the U.S. and its allies. NATO was involved. Do you see what is happening today in Ukraine and U.S. and NATO involvement? Is this a reboot of the Cold War? I mean, is this what kind of situation they're in right now?
Well, it's certainly possible. So when we think about the Cold War, the thing that really makes the Cold War a unique period of time is that period from the end of World War II to 1991 is a period where the world was basically, between the major powers at least, was in a state of bipolarity. The United States and its capitalist Western democratic allies, the Soviet Union and its communist authoritarian allies were really divided. They did not come together on economic, diplomatic, or political terms. So if we're headed towards a new Cold War, it's really going to depend on the decisions of leaders. One, will Putin respond positively to the sanctions regime? And if Putin doesn't respond positively to the sanction regime, will Western powers remain vigilant in that? If Putin doesn't respond and Western powers are vigilant in the sanction regime, we could see the development of something like the Cold War. Though I will say, I think Putin is betting that the West will tire of Ukraine as political winds change and over time. And I think he imagines that eventually the West will just de facto sort of accept Ukraine in kind of a way they had already done with Crimea.
Well, we shall see. We're running out of time. I could ask you a whole lot more, but that was a great history lesson and just a current events lesson. So thank you so much, Professor Dr. Philip W. Travis of State College of Florida, Manatee, Sarasota. Thank you for educating all of us on the crisis in Ukraine tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, coming up, ABC 7's Kelsey Cairns gives us stats.